All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I am going to explain how a single Grant Cardone video allowed me to profit $650,000. So the way I'm going to do this video is I'm going to run through the history of the property, and then I'm going to show the actual Grant Cardone video and play some of it at the end. So you can actually see a few minutes of that, and then on your own, go ahead and watch it all the way through. And I'll actually link it in the description. And before I get into the deal, what I wanted to say is this is why I feel, in my opinion, it's the greatest time to be alive, because there is a democratization of information and knowledge due to the internet, due to things like YouTube, different seminars you can take. I just feel before, let's say you're going back 50 years or 100 years, it was kind of who you knew. In America, maybe you needed to go to the Ivy League schools. If you're in France, maybe it's the Sorbonne. If it's in England, maybe it's Oxford, Cambridge. So it's the sense of you needed to go to these elite institutions. You needed to network there in order to thrive and be part of the 1% in those particular societies. And I just feel now there's just the opportunity to learn anything about anything. Excuse me, to learn everything about anything. You know, that you can go online. You're interested in real estate investing, search it. You'll find different people who are teaching. You're interested in stocks, search it. You'll find people who are doing courses or things for free, sharing portfolios. So that's my little preamble there. But let's start here. So basically in 2016, I had a 40-acre vineyard in North Carolina that I sold. This video is a video I did to sell the property. This was done in July. I sold it in October. And I took that money and I bought 2 mobile home parks. And one of them I subsequently sold a few years after purchasing for maybe around $100,000 profit, which I'm not even including in the 650, mind you. This is just one particular property. So you'll see here, this is me. Let's see, this is in 16. This was the vineyard here. It's the hillside vineyard right there.
Bella is a 40-acre estate comprised of 800 wine vines, a black truffle orchard, 300 blueberry bushes, and 15 or so heirloom apple trees. Additionally, Brahma Bella serves as a destination wedding venue in this area where we have the beautiful, dramatic waterfalls.
So there you go. So that's just a quick little video. But yeah, we did weddings there. We had the vineyard, we had the blueberry orchard, the black truffle orchard, and kind of cashed out of that and did this. So let's run through the deal. So I purchased the property for $770,000. I put $310,000 down, which is high because it was seller financing. To get in the game, a bank at that point, because I didn't have the experience, it's unlikely that they would have funded the deal. The first deal sometimes can always be the hardest. So I put a significant amount of capital down into that deal. And this was in 2016. It's a mobile home park. Now, in 2020, I had it under contract for $1.2 million. The guy went a different direction with his investments. So I said, you know what? Let me follow Grant Cardone's advice and let me refinance it. So had it appraised, had a broker. I didn't appraise for the 1.2 that I had under contract. It appraised for $1 million. So basically went through the whole process, did the loan. At the closing, I received a check, tax-free, for $260,000. And I still owned and controlled the property, and it was positive cash flow. So at that point, it's not an infinite return because remember, I put $310 down. I got $260,000 back. Now, when I first bought the property, it was definitely a turnaround. It was pretty rough. I had gang members in there. I had prostitutes. I had junkies. Revamped the tenant base. Got really good, hardworking tenants. I worked with a property management company in the Tampa area called Dennis Realty. They really helped turn it around. I put a guy on the property, an on-site guy that does the handyman work and just kind of eyes on the ground, and really started boosting rents, planning landscaping to make it appealing, skirting the mobile homes, pressure washing, painting, just kind of doing like what was a sort of ratty place into a nice place to live, an affordable housing area. So did that, took the rents higher and higher. And as you guys know who follow real estate, rents are through the roof. So I said, I want to follow exactly what Grant Cardone did in this video. And he talks about in this video here that he had a property for 15 years, refinanced it 4 or 5 times, infinite return, pulled out millions of dollars tax-free, still owned the property. So because the property now was throwing off a lot more money, real estate values had risen, I started the process again. So I went to a broker and went through the process, got it appraised. Lo and behold, it appraised this time for 1.8 million. Again, the first appraisal was really bad at $1 million. It should have been 1.2 to 1.4 at that time. So really, it kind of went from 1.2 to 1.4 to 1.8. Now, the bank initially agreed on the 1.6 evaluation, so they actually didn't give me credit for the 1.8. They were kind of held firm at the 1.6. So at this point, the loan that I had refinanced before, just a year before, it was at 667. Okay, so the loan that they were willing to give me, because there was some negotiation, this and that, was $1.1 million and $15,000. So after expenses, so on and so forth, the cash at closing this time was $390,000. Okay, so now remember, I already pulled $260,000 tax free. Now I'm pulling $390,000. So you take 263 plus 390,000. That's 653,000. That's double my capital in. And furthermore, I still own the property and it's positive cash flow. It's doing 3 to 4 times gross debt service. So it's still not over leveraged. It's still not where it's like I levered up to no end, which again, Charlie Munger, what causes people to go bankrupt? Liquor, ladies, leverage. So I basically now got that 340, got the 390, got the 263. And both of those are completely tax-free. Now, if you run it the other way, let's say I had a buyer at 1.8 or 1.6, somewhere in that range. So the tax bill that I'm going to get at the closing is going to be very massive. Or there's the 1031, which a lot of progressives want to eliminate. I could 1031 the proceeds, and I could look for a like-kind property, identify like-kind property, and I have to put 100% of the capital into that. Now, that means I'm under the gun to find this property. What if it's not as good as the one I have? And again, there's a timeline, all that. So the magic of the refinance is that I can sell the property essentially, still control it, still cash flow it, and I get the tax benefits of the mortgage interest, depreciation, amortization, all the different tax benefits of real estate. So recently, actually on Bloomberg, there was an article that kind of discussed this, how wealthy individuals, it's buy, borrow, die. So you're borrowing against your assets, which again, if you have a Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, even more like a David Bach, I think is another kind of like personal finance type, they're going to tell you like, oh, get out of debt, debt's bad. And I think they're absolutely correct with things like for personal consumption. For things like a credit card, to put a cruise or a watch or a car on a credit card, or using lots of debt on those things for sort of flashy luxuries. But for buying assets, for buying real estate, debt can be a beautiful thing. Again, provided you don't over leverage and get hurt. especially on positive cash flowing properties. So this is actually right here. This was, I think, a follow-up. This is September 13th. This is a follow-up to the Bloomberg article, and it's sort of how ordinary Americans can also buy, borrow, and die without paying taxes. So again, it's very difficult to tax borrowed money. That's why I think a lot of people want to do the mark-to-market, so on and so forth. But yeah, that's just kind of a rundown. I wanted to play a couple minutes of the video that kind of changed my life. You could look at it that way. This single video changed my financial life and basically caused me to look to the refi game as opposed to the flipping game, or or even the buying and holding and building up a property, and then the sale game, the exit, even if it's a long-term exit. So I'm going to play a couple minutes of this. Let's go here. Okay, here we go. Mr. Grant Cardone.
There is nothing better in all of real estate than this. This is the biggest loophole in the tax code I'm sharing with you right now. The single biggest loophole. Blackstone knows it. All the Wall Street guys know it. This is the biggest loophole in the entire tax code. I own this property. Remember, I have $2.7 million were financed on this deal. Okay? What did I say I put down on that? 400 grand or something? $500,000. I put 500 grand down when I bought the deal. Put 500 grand down. I financed $2.7 million. The bank said, your new deal, because 3 years after I bought it, had improved the income, your deal is now worth $6 million. The bank wants to lend you money. That's how they make money. They lent me $4.5 million. Okay? What did I do? I paid down the 2.7. I paid off the 2.7 I owed. That's the number I owed. That was my old loan. And that left me, I deduct this, right? 6 million, that's the value. 4.5 was the new loan. Let me just show this to you over here, because you're probably going to have to go back and watch this, because this is magic.
Again, you can get lost in the weeds here, and that's sort of what he's saying. You may need to go back and watch this. He's just showing you he put down X amount. He raised the rents, raised the value of the property. He went back to the bank, and when the bank did its appraisal, it was a higher amount. And so they're willing to lend X amount. You have to pay back the old loan. So for me, for example, my old loan on this refinance yesterday or the other day was $667,000, but I was getting 1.1 million and 15,000. And then there are, closing fees and such. But so that means that the cash to me was 390,000. Now that's non-taxable, which means you can almost double that amount in a way, or 40% more. So it's almost as if I made 700, $800,000. But he's gonna break it down a little further here.
Okay. And then I paid back the old loan. That's how I paid back the old loan. Why? Because it had $4.5 million, but in escrow, when I went to the escrow company, they're like, hey, you got to pay back this old loan. Everybody tracking me right now? And I end up with $1,800,000 in my pocket.
Uncle G.
And I still own that deal.
Yep, you still own it.
Now, let me tell you the magic of the magic that would make David Copperfield and that dumbass that we went and saw. Chris, what? What a dumbass, okay? What a terrible show. I don't know if Copperfield's show is any worse, but it couldn't be, okay? This $1.8 million, guess what the tax bill was on me getting a check? By the way, remember this. I put 500 grand down to own the thing, and I got a check back for 3 times that plus 300 grand. Guess what the tax bill was?
See, his cash in was 500,000 and he got a check back. So my cash in was 310,000 because it was seller. If this hadn't been seller, it would have been 3, 4, 5 times it initially. But so I put 310 down and I got 650 between the two refinances back. So essentially double, and I still own it. I get the tax benefits, the cash flow, which I can live on. And then I can take, and the power of this is I can now take this money and as you guys know who follow me, I'm going to run this money in Composer, which is a fintech startup software company that I'm working with. And so I'm going to, but I could also take this 340 and buy another piece of real estate. And that's how you can just really compound your wealth is, it's funny. I went to a really fancy restaurant in Boca Raton, and to celebrate. And in front of the steakhouse, there were 3 Rolls Royces, 2 Bentleys, 1 Maserati, 2 Porsches, so on and so forth. And I thought, well, I could like walk in now and buy a car like that in cash. But that's the worst thing you can do. I literally I have a Ford Echo Sport, so I felt like inferior. I'm in this place and I have like a Ford Echo Sport, and it's a nice car and everything. It works. But it's not a white Rolls Royce or a black Maserati. But it's just funny because where people get hurt is not, I feel, not only on the leverage, but they'll do a deal like this and they'll buy luxuries instead of assets. But they'll take this 390 and they'll buy something stupid with it. They'll buy a Rolls Royce in cash with it. They'll go traveling. They'll buy jewelry or whatever, just luxuries instead of assets. The trick to getting wealthy here is to be disciplined, to take this 390 and to buy assets, whether in the stock market or buying a piece of cash flowing real estate. That's how you just create somewhat indestructible wealth. So there you goes. Zero tax.
I walked away with $1.8 million in cash, paid myself back my $500, still got $1.3 million in cash money. And my tax bill that year was 0 on that money.
Uncle G for the win. It's magic.
You don't learn this game. That's why you guys out there doing flippers, single family homes, 2 units, 4 units. That game, this magic game, the refi game, which is the explosion of real estate where I can actually sell something. Check this out. Sell it, keep it,
yep,
and pay no tax. My name's Grant Cardone, and I'm sharing with you, by the way, I talk about that in my new book.
Uncle G for the win. But that's sort of what he's saying there. Sell it, keep it, and pay no tax. So you're kind of selling it without selling it in a way on the refi. So that's something that I wanted to discuss here. And again, he even said you can get lost in the weeds, and even the way I'm explaining it, the cash in, but if you watch some of these videos a couple different times, and I watched this video probably 5 or 10 times while I was learning, just to kind of really run through the numbers and see the process and see how it works. But the process really is, if you buy a piece of real estate, ideally you put 20% down. I put at that time like 40 because it was seller financing, but you put that 20% down. And you have value add. So maybe it's by landscaping, maybe it's by pressure washing, maybe the rents are just under market. Maybe the owner feels like she knows the tenants are afraid people are going to leave and is scared to bring it to the market. Just by bringing it to the market, when you have 20 plus units, just think, if you have, let's say you have this particular property's 24 units. Let's say that the rents are $200 under market. And so you do some landscaping, you pressure wash, you get rid of those troublemakers, and you raise rents $200 on 24 units. That's $4,800 a month extra. That's an extra $57,600. Now, when an appraiser runs through the numbers there and sees that increase in revenue, increase in rent, he's going to appraise it based on cash flow, not just on comps. So you're essentially creating forced appreciation by raising the rents and doing that. So that's how this deal worked. When I first bought it, it was like throwing off 5,000 to 7,000. It was, again, a turnaround. When I did the first refi, it was maybe 12 to on a high end 15. Now it's doing between 17 to 21, 16 to 21, depending. Someone falls behind, gets caught up. So that's why it's worth so much. Obviously, there's just the appreciation of owning something for a while and comps, but by raising the rents and showing a bank, showing an appraiser gross rents, net income, you can just crush it. So there it is, guys. Almost a 20-minute video, a little long, but hopefully you gain something from this. And I have another video coming up I'm excited to do also, which relates to Composer. So take care, guys. Ciao.